Round fifth. 896. Oh, no.
Listen to the heartbeat.
Chevrolet announces the biggest savings program ever on S10 compact pickups and Blazers. Special 3.9% financing, or up to $600 back. Plus, Chevy has made it possible for dealers to pass on savings of up to $750 on options. And with certain specially equipped trucks, you could save up to $2,095.
The biggest savings program ever on S10 compact pickups and Blazers. Now at your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealer.
June Allison for Depend.
Good news. America's most trusted undergarment for bladder control is better than ever. New improved Depend undergarments has added an extra layer of absorbency where protection is needed most. It's absorbency protection no other undergarment has. You can feel safer, more confident, and get better protection with new Depend. Get back into life. Get back into life with Depend.
Fed up with the same old cheeseburger? Try Arby's beef and cheddar topped with tangy cheddar cheese sauce and taste the Arby's difference.
People tell us every day they love to relax with the soft, easygoing songs on WLAK 94 FM. WLAK plays the best of Mathis, Diamond, Manilow, Billy Joel, Barbra Streisand, and more. All originals back to back with less talk. No boring sleepy strings or elevator music, no blasts of rock. You can listen and relax with WLAK hour after hour. WLAK 94 FM, all songs to sing along with.
No, 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 no. We don't make cameras like they do. We don't make stereo like they do. We don't make vacuum cleaner like they do. Oh, copiers, just copiers, copiers, just copiers.
Unlike other copier companies, Mita only makes copiers. After all, we didn't get to be the fastest growing copier company by making microwaves. Mita, all we make are great copiers. Call 1-800-ABC-MITA.
Well, while this is the primary election in the mayor's race, it's the general election for the city's 50 aldermen. There are a field of 238 candidates running. 5 are running unopposed. The winner needs to get a majority of the votes cast, and if no one gets a majority, the top 2 vote getters will advance to a runoff election in April. You can rest assured you'll probably see runoff elections with that many candidates running. We can't report all of the races, but while we're keeping an eye on a number of aldermanic races, we would like to talk about 2 of them right now that involve incumbents who were indicted in the Operation Incubator probe of corruption at City Hall. Now, on the 20th Ward, Alderman Clifford Kelly, who has served in that ward for 16 years, is indicted. And with 39% of the precincts reporting, Clifford Kelly has well over half of the vote, 54%, compared to Melinda Keys with 16%, Inez Gardner 13%, and 3 other candidates are trailing. We'd like to give you the figures for the 27th Ward, where Alderman Davis has also been indicted. We will give you those figures as soon as they become available.
Vote totals in wards along the lakefront are expected to spell a major factor in the mayor's race, perhaps the deciding difference. And the outcome of the aldermanic races in several lakefront wards could tip the balance of power in the city council as well. Let's take a look at some of those early returns. In the 42nd Ward, 4-term Alderman Bert Nateras in trouble over that big property tax hike last year, $80 million worth, but the voters are inclined, it seems, based on these early returns, to send him back for another term in City Council. He's way out in front of his nearest 2 challengers, Robert Copia and Barbara Pressman. In the 43rd Ward, that liberal independent lakefront bastion, Alderman Marty Oberman retiring after several terms in council. Out in front right now, Robert Perkins with 37% of the vote, Edwin Eisendrath 29%, Barbara Wood 27%. That one's awfully close. We may see a runoff there with 14% of the precincts reporting. In the 44th Ward, that predominantly white North Lakefront Ward, Alderman Bernie Henson is seeking a second term against a strong challenger from gay rights activist Dr. Ron Sable. So far, Henson out in front with about 1/4 of the votes tallied. And in the 46th Ward, Jerry Orbach trailing ever so slightly with about 1/5 of the precincts now in there. Orbach is seeking a second term. He's got 39% of the tally. Helen Schiller, a Washington supporter, has 41%. And civic activist Nancy Kazak down with about 19% of the tally in the 46th Ward.
We're also keeping tabs on the aldermanic elections in the 4 Hispanic wards where both candidates are trying to cement their political coalitions within the Hispanic community. We have 2 wards to give you the totals for there, or the totals that we have now. In the 25th ward, with 14% of the precincts reporting, Juan Solis, who is the incumbent alderman who was also backing Jane Byrne in the primary, has 43% of the vote, to Juan Velasquez, who has 15% of the vote. Velasquez supports Mayor Washington and ran against Juan Solis in the last election, the special election in March of '86. On to the 26th ward, where Luis Gutierrez, the incumbent alderman who, remember, won in a bitter campaign race over Manuel Torres last year, with 11% of the precincts reporting, has a whopping, I believe I can say that, 74% of the vote to Brenda Torres, wife of Manuel Torres, who has 13% of the vote. Jim Blasinski trails with 8% of the vote. And Joel, you have some new figures to tell us about in the aldermanic elections.
Well, I'd like to comment on some of those results if we could.
Certainly.
First of all, it looks like Juan Solis, another Hispanic who endorsed Jane Byrne, may be in trouble and may face some kind of a runoff. And he's a well-known figure out there. Before being elected to the city council, had been in the state legislature. So that's something of a surprise if it turns out that he's in a runoff. You'll note in the 43rd ward, Marty Oberman endorsed Robert Perkins. He's leading with 37% of the vote, but it looks like a sure runoff. Harold Washington's candidate, Helen Schiller, is winning, but again, a runoff probably in 46. I think earlier I mentioned that some of these spoiled ballots may have an effect on the aldermanic race. That's incorrect. I misspoke. The aldermanic ballot is counted separately, and of course that's nonpartisan. The spoiled ballots deal with party ballots. So I want to clarify that.
Are you as surprised as I was that Bert Nateras is doing as well as he is doing, given the fact that he was really painted into a corner as the bad guy who cast the deciding vote for that $80 million property tax hike last year?
I'm not quite as surprised as you are, and the reason I'm not is because there are so many other opponents splitting up that vote. It does appear that Nateras is going to escape a runoff and gain re-election. But if you want to look at all these aldermanic figures, it seems that the people who are in the Washington camp or endorsed by the mayor are doing better than those who aligned themselves with Byrne or had previously been aligned with Vrdolyak and didn't pick sides in the mayoral election. Nateras, of course, is endorsed by Washington and George Dunn, and it seems to be squeaking through.
And if we look, this is a little premature to do this now, but if we look at how the city council will end up with Juan Solis possibly being in trouble, that means Washington could pick up another seat in one of those Hispanic wards. And Luis Gutierrez is doing well.
It is possible. As a matter of fact, it's possible if Santiago gets into a runoff that he could actually pick up 2 more Hispanic seats and end up with all 4 of those Hispanic wards. But I think it's a little early, given the fact that we're undoubtedly going to have runoffs, to start talking council blocks.
Either way it goes, though, is there going to be such a thing as a council block? Is there going to be a faction here and a faction there, or we're going to have a lot of little factions all over the floor?
If Jane Byrne wins, you could have blocks. But if Harold Washington wins, I don't think you'll ever see the standoff of the council wars we just experienced. I think you're going to have rotating alliances, people voting on what's in their ward's best interest, which of course is what the civics book said the system should produce, and it may just do that.
And there are a couple of Republicans who stand a chance of being elected to the city council, and we haven't seen a Republican there since John Holan back in the 70s.
We haven't, but I'm not sure I'm going to start any swearing-in ceremonies yet.
Okay. Very good idea. Always play it safe, Joe.
Okay.
Our election coverage continues after this break. Hang in.
It's the DePaul Notre Dame rematch. DePaul won in January with a come-from-behind victory at the horizon. Notre Dame, always tough, has the home court advantage. Can DePaul continue its incredible season, or will Notre Dame bring it to a screeching halt? Find out when these arch rivals battle under the boards at South Bend. The DePaul Blue Demons against the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, Wednesday night at 6:30 here on Channel 9.
Mitsubishi. Are you looking for the perfect feel, the perfect style, the perfect deal? Mitsubishi.
Oh, look, Brad, it's the new Prius.
Front-wheel drive.
Fully independent suspension.
Gee, room for 5.
Over 60 standard features.
Okay, how much? $51.95. My kind of car. Our kind of car.
The perfect place, the perfect time.
The new Prius, imported by Mitsubishi, only $51.95.
Mitsubishi.
Sometimes the price of a good time is
heartburn.
Fortunately, Gaviscon works like no other leading antacid to form a soothing barrier between you and heartburn. So if it works like a dream at night, just imagine how it works during the day. And now, the antacid that works differently to cool the fire of heartburn, takes a little heat off your wallet. Now, when you buy Gaviscon liquid, you get $1 off instantly.
Sunny and warm, high in the mid-70s.
Good investment opportunities can come in all economic climates, rain or shine. What's important is that they're good investments, right for you, right now. When you're not sure where to invest, knowing about Kemper Mutual Funds helps. Ask your broker about Kemper.
Hi, Fred. About that Kemper Mutual Fund. No kidding.
There's never a bad time to make a good investment.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Budweiser Beechwood Aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you.
Like many before, you came here asking for just one thing.
Sadowski. Shaboski.
A chance.
Pronounced Shaboski. You're gonna make it here, 'cause you make America work, and this Bud's for you.
Here's to you, Beechwood Aged for that clean, crisp taste
Hey, Sid.
that says Budweiser.
This Bud's for you.
Well, politics tonight may be the biggest game in town, but it is not the only game in town. H-Man is here to tell us about the Bulls and the Hawks. Big game out at the stadium.
Big Central Division game. You know, Rick, it is Election Day, and I think Michael Jordan could have gotten a few votes for mayor today himself. At Chicago Stadium, Bulls and Hawks, take a look at Michael Jordan, the J-Man. He steals the basketball, then dishes it off to Gene Banks. Banks to Oakley, 18-14, Bulls over Atlanta. But this was a tight first half. Bulls turn the ball over. Glenn Doc Rivers operates to Kevin Willis, 59-56 Bulls at halftime. In the second half, Indiana's Randy Whitman misses, but Le Magnifique Dominique underneath for the stuff. Atlanta up by 1. But the Bulls played some good defense tonight down the stretch. Dominique turns it over. Michael Jordan, showtime. He had 34. And the Bulls win, 113-103. The White Sox continue spring training in Sarasota, and the Sox are really hoping that Richard Dotson can return to his old form.
Well, my goal this year would be to win more games than I lose. Last year I was 10-17, and it was a rehab year. It was kind of tough for me, and I feel like I'm back now, so I just want to go out and put good numbers up on the board.
And young Ron Karkovice would like to get to know his pitchers a little bit better.
You know, this year I need to, really work at it, sit down and analyze all the pitchers and know what they like to throw in situations, so that's going to be one of my goals this year.
And spring training will last another 6 weeks, and by that time you will have heard every cliche you can think of from baseball players. So here, friends, is the 10 cliches you will probably hear the most, and you've probably heard them 100 or 200 times by now.
I mean, if we win the pennant, I don't care how many games I win.
It looks like we're on track.
If we get some consistent pitching out of everybody, everything else will fall into place.
I guess my only goal is to do the best job I can every game I get out there and pitch.
Stay healthy and work hard and try to make a ball team. You know, their attitudes are all good.
Everybody's healthy.
I feel real good.
I think we can have a good year.
We're ready to go.
But the one I like the most is, I'm going to give 110%.
Yeah, the check is in the mail. Those are great.
Yeah, DePaul, by the way, is going to give 110% tomorrow night against Notre Dame. We have the game, 6:30.
Boy, that's going to be a dilly. That's going to be a barn burner. Yeah. Good. Thank you, Bobby. There are political barn burners still a-burning. Let's go back to Pat and find some more results.
Yeah, back to the business at hand, or other sports, whichever you prefer. We have some more figures to give you in the latest mayoral Democratic primary. Here we are with 41% of the precincts reporting Jane Byrne with almost double the votes of Mayor Washington, 62% compared to Harold Washington's 38%, and Lyndon LaRouche candidate Sheila Jones, 1,509 votes, and that doesn't even come up with any percentage of the votes counted. In the Republican mayoral primary, with 24% of the precincts reporting, Donald Hyder, who is expected to be the front runner, leading by a 2-to-1 margin with 64% of the vote to Kenneth Hurst, the 39th Ward committeeman, with 22% of the vote, Ray Wardingley trailing with 6%.
The Midwest Voter Registration Education Project is traditionally involved with protecting the rights of voters. This time around, it's also been doing some exit polling. This mayoral election day, our Jim Ramsey talked with the organization's executive director, Juan Andrade, who tells us about a big Hispanic vote in today's race.
Even though it may not equal that of the city as a whole,
we're expecting about 70 to 75% of Hispanic voters in Chicago who turned out to vote today, and that's pretty strong.
75%, is that a good bit more than previous elections?
Absolutely. Last time we had 69.9%, so we're very pleased with this increase. This means 75,000 voters. And of course, the way this begins to break down between the mayoral candidates and as far as the city clerk's race is concerned, this begins to have an impact immediately. When you look at the percent of the Hispanic vote that is favoring Mayor Washington over Jane Byrne, the mayor appears to be pulling about 53% of the Hispanic vote, which is a tremendous increase over February 1983 when he pulled 13% of the Hispanic vote. So this is a dramatic increase in the mayor's base of support among Hispanic voters. Part of this is probably attributed to his strategy to put an Hispanic on the ticket to run citywide, Gloria Chevede, as a candidate for city clerk, because she appears to be beating her opponents in the Hispanic community by 3-1. And so it appears at this point that she is, in fact, carrying the mayor in the Hispanic community. This translates into possibly 55 to 56,000 Hispanic votes for her. And with the city clerk's race being neck and neck, that very well could be a decisive factor.
Well, Joe, the figures with Gloria Chevede, is that surprising to you? Or
it just shows it shows Mayor Washington's acumen, his political acumen in putting a Hispanic on the ticket, whether she wins or not. It did get a lot of Hispanic votes for him, which we talked about earlier. The other thing is that the mayor benefited handsomely in that community from those runoff elections and special elections involving, for instance, Alderman Gutierrez, who has shown himself to be a very formidable leader, as we saw in his ward, in that community, and has developed some spokesmen loyal to himself who are Hispanics.
So Chevede seems to be a little more than symbolism than in the Hispanic.
No, it was a pragmatic move by the mayor, because it's going to get him, and has gotten him, some Hispanic votes.
Well, she is a well-respected candidate in her own right, but they were talking about Washington coattails sweeping her into office. Right. I'm a little bit disturbed about the discrepancy that we're picking up between the numbers that we have been showing you and the projections from the big boys downtown that are calling the election for Harold Washington. Does this make your toes curl at all?
It's very hard to tell, because we don't know what the origin of those figures is. And if we knew that they were coming equally from all parts of the city, I would be equally concerned. But for all we know, many of those figures are coming, or the majority of them, from places where we thought Byrne would be strong. One other thing before we go to the break, Rick, and that is that Alderman Puczynski, who looked like he might be in trouble, with 72 of 78 precincts in the 41st Ward now reporting, it looks like Puczynski's projected to perhaps get 53% of the vote, which would be enough to avert what would have been a very embarrassing runoff. It's not complete, but it looks like he's holding his own.
Things get interesting and interesting. Yes. Thank you. More vote results coming up, and Tom Skilling is next. He's going to share the forecast with us. We'll do that after this.
All day long, people are in here fighting to get the best price.
But Cadillac buyers don't have to, thanks to a new pricing policy at Francis Cadillac. I'm Ralph Morrow, president of Francis Cadillac, and I've taken at least 20 and up to 30% off the prices of my new Cadillacs. Get the Francis discount. 20 to 30% off any new Cadillac. Come on, Francis. With 20 to 30% off, we have a lot of work to do.
Tell Francis sent ya.
Francis Cadillac in Mount Prospect. A lifetime of images, so many more to follow. Hopes, dreams, aspirations to fulfill. American International Hospital can bring hope to cancer patients. We offer innovative, alternative cancer treatments, comprehensive care, individual choice. Life, isn't it worth pursuing all the alternatives? American International Hospital. Call about our comprehensive cancer program today.
Personally, status symbols bore me. Take cars. Trendy initials just don't make it. It's value that counts. Now this car gives me my money's worth. Good looks and great performance without having to spend the extra bucks for a 3-letter monogram.
The 1987 Dodge Shadow. See it at your Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana Dodge dealers.
And tell them Eleanor sent you.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Eastern Airlines.
The warmth of Chicago on a cold winter night. It's people, it's energy, it's winning the fight. Feel the warmth of Chicago.
Anyone who thinks a Chicago winter is easy has never been through one. But the 3,200 people of People's Gas keep coming through for all of us.
It's for people like you, our people keep coming through. Feel the warmth of Chicago.
Flexibility is the key to live television. We promised you Skilling's forecast, and he will be here to deliver in just a moment. But first, let's go back to the political scene and switch to Mayor Washington's campaign headquarters, where Christine Negroni is standing by live with a guest. Chris?
Well, Rick, there are a lot of people assembled here now, and they seem to be in a pretty jovial mood. There is no access to the numbers here, so they don't know that at this point Jane Byrne is ahead. They all do know that the TV stations have projected Harold Washington as the winner. Arriving just about 10 minutes ago was the Reverend Jesse Jackson. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the biggest issue of this day for Election Day, maybe the biggest issue for all election days, and that is the mess up with the solidarity ballots. What do you think that's about, and how do you think it's going to affect Harold Washington's returns?
Well, Harold Washington is going to win soundly before the night is out, but it's unfortunate that our election was marred today by this confusion. 385 precincts, 44 wards. We finally had to go to court and get the judge to supervise the remainder of the election. But that's unfair to people. Many judges came to work this morning, and the Solidarity and the Democratic tickets were in the same packet, and they had not been informed of that. Many people came to vote, and their names had been removed from the binders, and they brought 2 pieces of identification, and they still could not vote, and so people were roundly confused.
Was it an attempt to disenfranchise Washington supporters?
Oh, I'm convinced it was an attempt. After all, let's look at several things. Number one, we have the situation of mass roll purging, and we had to go to the courts to stop that process. We then warned the board and Mr. Lavelle about the unusually high number of absentee ballots to be prepared. It was projected there would be a record turnout today. In spite of that, there was no real preparation. I submit to you, we survived today a snowstorm without plows, even though the weatherman advised us that the snowstorm was coming.
Do you think that Harold Washington's margin of victory will be enough to compensate for whatever votes you lose because of the confusion over the solidarity ballot?
I think so. It's going to be minimized because the judges have now ruled that they are going to, after doing the regular count, they're then going to go through all the solidarity ballots. And those that were 9, 17, 22 were obviously intended to be for Harold Washington. That's going to get us some of our ballots back. But I would think that the integrity of the process has been challenged, and so we must either have a new commissioner by April 7th or have that election federally supervised.
Regardless of the outcome of this election, we'll certainly be hearing more from both Jesse Jackson and Harold Washington on the subject of the Board of Elections commissioners, a favorite subject of Washington in the past few months. And now we'll return you back to the studio.
Thank you, Christine. Well, we've heard Reverend Jesse Jackson say that the mayor will win soundingly. Of course, he's supposed to say things like that, I guess, but he also made some charges about voter turnout. And our figures seem to differ with what Reverend
Well,
Jackson
he said there's a record turnout, and the Board of Election figures, which of course he criticized the whole Board of Election, don't seem to support that. So maybe he's playing a little loose with that fact. He may also be playing loose with the fact that this ballot confusion today was largely aimed at Washington supporters. We're not sure of that. We know for sure some Byrne supporters also were affected by it. His charge, however, that more blacks were purged from voting lists than whites probably is absolutely accurate.
Well, do we have any printout as to how the black voter turnout was today?
Well, the black voter turnout was generally very good. It was comparable to what it was in '83, although perhaps not exactly the same. And the white turnout seems to be a little down. Actually, it's down in both segments, but Washington got a greater proportion of the black turnout to vote for him than it looks like from our sampling that Byrne got to vote for her.
Were you struck by Jackson's suggestion, if not a demand, that there be at least a new elections commission before the general election on April the 7th? Or he said federally supervised elections. Is that just excessive Jackson rhetoric, or is he serious?
Well, I think obviously they could ask for federally supervised elections. elections, and there will probably be some federal marshals here next time around. I mean, these are some serious...
There have been some this time around.
These are serious irregularities, regardless at whom they have been aimed or who's paid the price. And it's certainly worthy of some investigation and some reform and perhaps some supervision. And Jackson, of course, is locking step with Mayor Washington in what is now an ongoing battle against Mike Lavelle, and both of them do have some facts to back up their argument that Lavelle has not run things as they should be run.
So we are looking at possibly some serious charges here.
No question.
Okay, Joe, let's look at some of the numbers that we have coming in again for the Democrat and Republican mayoral primary tonight. Now, with just over half of the precincts reporting, Mayor Washington has 46% of the vote compared to Jane Byrne with 54% of the vote. Again, Jones has no percentage. In the Republican mayoral primary, Donald Hyder, who is the projected front-runner, has 65%, but 36% of the precincts reporting. Kenneth Hurst, 22%, and Ray Wardingley trailing with 5%.
Well, we promised you skilling. We will try again. We have yet another commercial break, and then we hope the forecast. Stay with us.
You won't believe how great it holds your lower dentures.
It's extra hold for lowers.
Finally, I can eat, sing, even laugh with more confidence.
It's extra hold for lowers.
You won't believe how great it holds your lower dentures without messy ooze.
It's extra hold for lowers. And it's from Fast Teeth. You won't believe how great it holds your lowers.
You won't believe it.
Whirlpool and I have spent the last 75 years becoming laundry experts. But now, they're making it easy for everybody. Look at these fancy options. Temperatures and cycles to help you take expert care of most any fabric. Even special things. Who knows, with all those great options, even Grandpa might do a good job on the laundry. Nah. We're making your world a little easier. Whirlpool.
Every day I'm trying harder. My goal is pleasing you.
When you rent a car from Avis, it comes with a lot of people who want to make sure you're satisfied. Reservation and counter people, mechanics, managers and maintenance people. They're Avis. You may not always see them, but they're there.
And I won't stop till I'm the best, because I'm Avis.
From sorority, your sink's clogged.
Because the homecoming queen washed those golden curls again.
Hey, it could be greasy stuff, food, not just my beautiful hair.
Doesn't matter. Get the all-purpose drain opener, Crystal Drano.
What about Liquid Plumber?
No, Goldilocks. Liquid Plumber may not work on some clogs. Drano works on hair, food, grease.
Will Drano hurt our pipe?
No, not even plastic pipes. There's also Liquid Drano. Liquid Plumber can't beat it.
What's your name, tall, dark, and invisible?
Never mind. The one name to know is Drano.
Taste this.
The whole thing?
Uh-huh.
That's a big crunch for such a little thing.
That little thing's packed with goodness.
I can believe it with a crunch like that. It's got a nice nutty taste.
And it has no added sugar or preservatives.
There's no room.
Huh.
What are these little things?
Grape nut cereal.
Grape nuts? I could go for a whole bowl full.
You got it.
Have a bowl of crunchy, nutty, packed with goodness grape nuts today.
Well, this turned out to be a pretty cloudy election day in Chicago, but these were mostly mid and high-level clouds. Tonight we're even getting a little bit of stars, the stars through them, and you can see the breaks out to the west. So maybe a little bit of sunshine tomorrow, but hang on, this nice weather is not going to continue much longer. This big storm out to the west is pulling superfluous amounts of moisture into it, and it is stalled out there for 2 more days, but after that we'll start a slow eastward trek that may carry it across Chicago over the weekend. Look at this thing swirling out through the western Plain states and the Rockies. They've had 32 inches of snow in parts of Arizona today, up to 2 feet of snow in Montana, 1 or 2 feet of snow in the mountains of Utah, Wyoming. There's blowing dust in the deserts of the southwest and cool 50-degree temperatures in California where there were thunderstorms along the coastline. Now today, maybe a false alarm for you as you saw the clouds come in because this lead or vanguard area of cloudiness swept toward the area, but the precipitation back behind it will probably do the same thing those clouds did today, and that is fade fade away during the day tomorrow. The reason is there's a big blocking high pressure stuck in this area. It'll be here for a couple of more days. So while some clouds will get in here, looks like basically dry easterly winds off the lake expected. But upper winds will turn southwest. This means we'll get some more precipitation to come toward our area. And by tomorrow, it'll be sitting out to the west, probably to get in here by late tomorrow night and during the day on Friday, it looks like. Lots of snow, rain, so forth out west, and temperatures tomorrow in the 40s, lower at the lakefront. Here is our forecast. Partly cloudy and hazy with a low of 28 tonight. Winds will be easterly. Tomorrow, some hazy sun through all the clouds. There'll be mostly high and mid-level clouds, so no rain, and there'll be a lake breeze. 41 except 30s at the lakeshore. Cloudy, hazy, little freezing drizzle late tomorrow night away from the lake, low 31. Drizzle at the lakefront. And damp and chilly on Thursday with a cold rain beginning. It could rain into Friday and change to snow at some point over the weekend, Rick. So it's a storm we'll watch for the next few days.
Okay, Tom, thank you very much. Pat?
Well, as we've been reporting tonight, the ballots posing problems for election officials involve the Solidarity Party and its candidate for mayor, Ed Vrdolyak, who stepped down from alderman of the 10th Ward to run for mayor. Our Larry Roderick is with the candidate at Vrdoljak's South Side headquarters, or rather at a restaurant on 133rd Street in Brainerd. Larry, where are you?
We're still trying to figure that out right now, man. This is the 10th Ward, and of course, when you talk about the 10th Ward, you talk about Alderman Vrdolyak. Well, this is a victory party for Alderman Vrdolyak. Victor Vrdolyak, the man standing right here, who is Eddie Vrdolyak's older brother. He's claiming victory tonight. He's some 2,000 votes ahead so far. A lot of talk, of course, is centered about Victor Vrdolyak. More talk is centered tonight about the mayoral campaign. Victor Vrdolyak's campaign is essentially over. Ed Vrdoljak's campaign is essentially just beginning. What happens now?
First of all, Vic Vrdolyak won by over 7,000 votes in the 10th Ward, where his opponent, backed by Harold Washington, probably spent about $80,000. The people in our community supported Victor. Our organization supported Victor. He worked harder than any other candidate I know, and we're delighted that he's the alderman of our ward.
And now you really start.
I'm what?
Your campaign now really gets going.
We are getting going tonight. We have radio and TV starting tomorrow, and I've got about 12 stops. My running mates, John Thomas and Al Sanchez, will be also working, and we're taking this campaign right to the people.
Everybody today is now talking about the mess-up with the Solidarity Party tickets and what may or may not have happened. What is your assessment of what did happen?
Well, I know what happened. Harold Washington and Commissioner John Hillman of Streets and Sanitation put this Mr. Bilski in as a write-in candidate against me to hold me in the primary. They thought that would hurt Jane Byrne because I would draw some votes. We drew just a minimum amount of votes because that's all we needed to win. We got a little over 4,000 votes. They put in there because otherwise I wouldn't be on the ticket. You wouldn't have a Solidarity in this primary. So what happens? Harold Washington, poetic justice, his people, his judges, don't read the cards, don't read the voting slip. They go in and put a Solidarity thing, just punch number 9, don't look for a name. They did it by rote. And he, all day today, he and his campaign was just mired in trying to figure out how to extract themselves out of the Solidarity Party and get their people voting for him. He got exactly what he deserved. He got cute, he got fancy, he got tricky, and he lost. And it's just too bad. Elections shouldn't be like that, and you shouldn't be full of con and hustle or put up phony candidates. Now what's going to happen, I'm sure the board, we all want the votes counted for whoever they really voted. We don't want someone getting a phony ballot or a wrong ballot. Now we have to undo all of that and go back to the process of getting it straightened out. It's his fault.
Now you come on with a big push tomorrow, starting with the ads.
Radio, television, 12 appearances, each and every single day. We're going to be out there taking it to the people. I want Harold Washington in several debates. Anytime, any place he wants, Soldiers Field, he could have it. I'm going to take this campaign to the people, and I'm going to take it to him.
You'll debate him with or without an audience?
Any way he wants it.
Okay, very good. Ed Vrdolyak is off and running. Victor Vrdolyak here in the 10th Ward. I guess that's what we can say from the 10th Ward. Back to you, Pat and Rick.
Thanks, Larry. Joel, I guess we can also say it sounds like Ed Vrdolyak was saying the mayor.
Yeah, it sounds like he acknowledges that Washington's won because he's ready to debate him in the general election. I'm not sure I follow his reasoning how it's Washington's fault that the ballots got fouled up when they were originally handed out in the wrong envelopes by judges who supposedly work for the Board of Elections.
Wasn't his point the fact that he was criticizing the Washington administration for setting up the Solidarity Party primary, which meant there was a Solidarity ballot which got tangled up with the Democratic ballot. Could that have been his line of reasoning?
That was part of his line of reasoning, but the other part I think was somewhat fallacious.
He also said that they were his judges and his people. Washington's people.
Which is not necessarily true because Lavelle runs those judges and so on. So it's a little hard to follow. I'll tell you the truth, I would have thought he would come out rather than with a vitriolic attack against Washington based on this election follow-up to start talking about some campaign issues, because now his campaign is really launched.
And quick question, debates, do you foresee that Harold Washington will agree to debate Vrdolyak as he now has thrown down the gauntlet tonight?
I think that he will do all kinds of dancing and sidestepping about a debate, just as he did with Jane Byrne. But he may be forced into it this time around.
And don't forget Tom Hines, of course, and Don Hyder, who is presently leading in the Republican primary.
But if I were advising the mayor, I don't think I'd want the incumbent necessarily to debate.
And don't forget charges that either Vrdolyak or Hines will drop out of the election anyway.
Well, that's of course, and Jesse Jackson earlier tonight had said that he hoped that they would drop out since their legitimate Democratic winner is Harold Washington, and these other guys are really Democrats, and they ought to acknowledge Harold Washington. I don't think either of them tonight plans to drop out, because each of them has a fairly substantial war chest. So they're in, at least for the immediate future.
Okay, Joel, we're going to make a little money here. We'll
come
back with our election coverage after this break.
You begin with raw steel. Shape it with fire, muscle, and sweat. Polish it to razor-sharp perfection. We're looking for a few good men with a medal to be Marines.
When you have arthritis, mornings can be nightmares. Some days it hurts just to put on a watch.
Today, people are turning from aspirin to Advil for hours of relief from minor arthritis pain. Advil contains a non-prescription strength of ibuprofen, the medicine doctors have prescribed over 130 million times in prescription brands like Motrin.
Advil works for hours, and that makes mornings much easier.
Advil, tablets and new caplets, advanced medicine for pain.
You are about to become reacquainted with a magazine you grew up with. A magazine that's known for its extraordinary photography. A magazine about people, about history and the future, about laughter and pain, and growing up and growing old. A magazine, in short, about life. All it takes to have life delivered to your home for the next 12 months is just 4 easy payments of $7.97 each. With your subscription, you get Life's special issue, We the People, about the U.S. Constitution. Plus, if you order now, we'll send you free with your paid subscription, Life's elegant designer telephone, featuring an on-off ringer switch for total privacy and automatic memory that redials the last number you called. So call 1-800-621-7200 toll-free and say, I'd like to subscribe to Life. For the pictures only life can capture. For the stories only life can tell. Call 1-800-621-7200. We're waiting for your call.
Of course, results are the business that we are about tonight first and foremost, so let's go back and get an update on the latest figures that we have for you in the Democratic and Republican mayoral primaries. Mayor Washington has narrowed the gap now as additional precincts are counted, with about 2/3 of the precincts now tallied. He has significantly closed on former Mayor Jane Byrne. She has 53% of the tally. He has 47%, and again, all 3 television networks are projecting that Harold Washington will ultimately be the victor in the Democratic mayoral primary. On the Republican side, about 2/3 of the precincts reporting Don Hyder with a commanding lead, and it would be fair to assume, I think, that he will end up the winner of the Republican mayoral primary over his nearest challenger, businessman Ken Hurst.
And as expected, Donald Hyder has a wide lead over 2 challengers in the Republican mayoral primary, as you just saw. Hyder and his family are with their supporters tonight at the Blackstone Hotel. Hyder told our Jim Ramsey he's pleased with the margin, and it's what he expected.
And this is exactly where we had it pegged from our phone banking that we've been doing the last 2 weeks. So it's right according to the mark. We're tremendously delighted it turned out the way we thought it would, and we just hope it holds for the rest of the evening.
Are you following very closely the Democratic race?
Really haven't had very much of a chance, so I picked it up bits and drabs and little heres and theres. Certainly we picked up earlier in the day the tremendous confusion over the solidarity ballots, and that's just, to me, it's just typical of the confusion we've had in the city in the last 10 years. The Democrats can't govern themselves, they can't govern their own party, and that's one of the reasons why we're running. It's time for a change in the city of Chicago.
Hyder is a former city budget director under Jane Byrne. He has also advised Mayor Washington on budgetary matters.
We have additional results to share with you. Let us talk now about some of the aldermanic races. We can't give you all 50, of course, but we can give you some of the key races at which we have been looking. In the Little Village area in the southwest side, 22nd Ward, Jesus Garcia with a commanding lead. He, of course, the incumbent alderman over his nearest rivals, Peter Sandoval and August Salas, about a third of the tally in.
And in the 25th Ward, Rick, with 67% of the precincts reporting, Juan Solis, who is backing Jane Byrne in the primary, has 39% of the vote, compared to Juan Velasquez with 18%. And another candidate, Ambrosio Medrano, has picked up 30%.
Near West Side 26th Ward, the incumbent alderman Luis Gutierrez seems to be a shoe-in, 70% of the tally, with over two-thirds of the ballots counted in the 26th.
In the 31st Ward, with 34% of the precincts reporting, Miguel Santiago of the Vrdolyak block has 39% of the vote, compared to Migdalia Collazo with 18% and Figueroa with 21% of the vote.
In the Lakefront 41st Ward, that's the northwest side 41st primary, the aldermanic primary there, with Roman Puczynski facing a stiff challenge from Richard Kunicki, but apparently surviving that challenge, and Puczynski ahead with almost all of the votes tallied, now 55% of the vote in the 41st Ward.
And in the 42nd Ward, which is a surprise to most folks, with 56% of the precincts reporting, Burton Nateras looks like he will remain the incumbent alderman there with 50% of the vote, compared to Republican Denise Barnes with 10%, Barbara Pressman with 17%. Joel, quick reflections.
Well, it looks like Washington's game plan was able to be followed. He got a much greater even than his targeted amount of Hispanic votes, which he needed, improving on the 83 performance, where he got about 20%. He's up well into the 50s, it looks like. He did better than anticipated along the lakefront, where he last time got 20%. He's well into the 30s, 40s, depending on the ward. And his people did come out and they voted for him in even greater proportions than they had last time around. Jane Byrne suffered from some turnout problems and from stay-at-home problems. And I think that's how the mayor has put it together, and it looks like he's going to come out of this with a very convincing victory.
It also looks like the polls rang true this time.
I think that's absolutely right, as well as the quick initial projections after the polls closed.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Joel. Don't go away yet. Our election coverage is going to continue. We'll have election updates for you throughout the evening.
In the meantime, let us now rejoin regular programming here on Channel 9, and of course, as Pat said, election updates for you as they become available and relevant. Do stay with us.
If you're building a new home or remodeling an older one, consider electric heat. It's clean, affordable, it's flexible, and it can let you control individual room temperatures throughout your house. Electric energy makes our lives just a little easier. It heats, cools, provides light, and powers labor-saving appliances. For more information, call your Illinois Power Marketing Advisor. When you think about it, there's a lot to be said for electricity.
AT&T is in graphic detail.
Hi, Hiroshi. Are you sitting down? Oh, sure. What's up? Look at your fax machine. The next site you see will be the Warren contract. Signed, sealed, and delivered.
We got it!
We got it.
When you use AT&T long-distance service, you can fax good news in graphic detail to Tokyo and all over the world.
Feels good to win, doesn't it? I could get used to it.
AT&T, the right choice.
5 Academy Awards. Robert De Niro, Meryl Streep, The Deer Hunter. Thursday night at 7 on Channel 9.
For mayor of Chicago, at least the Democratic primary race for mayor, Jane Byrne jumped off to an early lead. It has taken Mayor Harold Washington all this time to close the gap, but close it he now has. With 80% of the precincts in the city now reporting, Mayor Washington has edged ahead of former Mayor Jane Byrne ever so slightly by about 3,000 votes. He's in front now 50% to 49%. There is also a Republican mayoral primary about which we have been talking. And on the Republican side, discount the fact that we're still slugging at Democratic. It's the Republican figures, and they got by so fast I didn't even get a chance to pick them up. So if we can get them back on the screen, we'll give them to you, and if not, we'll have to ask you to wait. No Republican primary figures. Or maybe we will. Okay. That, again, is the joy of live television. We'll have to owe that to you. In the meantime, Pat, we understand that Steve Sanders is standing by downtown.
Yes, Steve has an explanation, Rick, as to where those votes are coming in for Mayor Washington. Steve?
Pat, our late returns show that Harold Washington is, in fact, narrowing the gap. He just pulled to within 3,000 votes of Jane Byrne. He has about 439,000 votes to Jane Byrne's just about 442,000 for Byrne. And looking at just where these votes are coming from, it's easy to understand how Harold Washington was trailing so badly earlier this evening. For instance, in the 7th Ward, as of about 20 minutes ago, that's a heavily black ward on the south side, only about 9% of the votes were in. Another south side ward, the 9th Ward, had only about half the votes in. Now let's contrast that with some northwest side wards. For instance, the 36th Ward, 89% of the vote in. In the 40th Ward and 41st Ward, 90% and 93% of the vote already in. So at this point, it would seem that Jane Byrne has seen her best shot. Pat, back to you.
Okay, Steve, we are hoping for those Republican figures, and now I think we've gotten our technical situation in hand. Let's find out how the Republican side is doing in the primary. Don Hyder way out in front. There had been a strong challenge expected from businessman Ken Hurst. It has not materialized, and it looks very much as if Don Hyder, now with 81% of the tally in, so far out in front that he can probably be declared the winner of the Republican mayoral primary, and he marches on to April 7th. There is some confusion that I'd like to address for just a moment. We got some figures confused as far as the Democratic primary is concerned. That 3,000 vote swing, the figures that we had on our screens and our computers here at the studios indicate that Mayor Washington was ahead by 3,000 votes. Steve at Election Board headquarters is saying he is still trailing, but by 3,000 votes, and clearly narrowing the gap. In any case, the Washington camp seems to be surging forward. At least we can say that much, and until we can straighten out the figures, that is about all we dare say about the Democratic mayoral primary. Pat?
Well, we were going to Joel Weisman, who will maybe be able to explain what is going on with those figures in the at the Board of Elections in the Washington, the Democratic mayoral primary. However, besides the mayor's race, we do have candidates for city clerk and treasurer, where both incumbents are trying for third terms in the city clerk's race, with 3/4 of the precincts reporting Democrat. And, well, the incumbent Walter Kozubowski has 54% of the vote. To the first Hispanic to run for citywide office, Gloria Chevrolet, the candidate for Mayor Washington, who has 40% of the vote. Now going to the city treasurer's race, if we can, with 3/4 of the precincts reporting there. Cecil Partee, the incumbent, with 65% of the vote, leads Thomas Corcoran by over half, who has 30%. Elma Washington, a Lyndon LaRouche candidate, has only 5% of the vote there. Now, maybe we can explain what's been going on with the Washington figures.
Yeah, what it really amounts to is that the wards projected to go to Harold Washington have been slow in turning in their figures. For instance, the 7th Ward on the south side, with only 75% of the total city vote counted, only 9% of that ward's vote had been turned into the Board of Election Commissioners. Project this out on a ward-by-ward basis, and the Washington returns are trailing in being reported to the Board of Election. If trends hold up, this gap is going to close, and he's going to surge ahead. And Vrdolyak says, for instance, he's going to win by around 30,000 votes.
Well, Vrdolyak also said that his brother was winning by 7,000 votes when we last talked to him, and that doesn't appear quite right, according to the figures that we have.
Not the figures at the moment, but it is pretty clear. We called the Board of Elections. They've shown us in every single ward we have what percentage of the vote is counted, and in those heavily Washington wards, a lesser percent is counted than in the heavy Byrne wards. So that would account for the projection that Washington's going to win versus the actual figures right now.
I think we have some actual figures right now in a number of the aldermanic races. Of course, with 50 of them, we can only give you a smattering, but we will do that if we can. In the 9th Ward, for example, that far south side ward, yeah, Perry Hutchinson, the incumbent, and seeking a second term. He has been linked to the City Hall investigation, the federal corruption investigation at City Hall. He's facing a field of 10 challengers. Hutchinson, 30%, Robert Shaw, 30%, the nearest third challenger, Richard Dowdle, 8%, 8 other candidates in that tango with about half the precincts tallied, and we expect to see a runoff in the 9th Ward. Right, Joel?
Right.
20th Ward, Clifford Kelly, the incumbent, and this includes the Woodlawn area in that south side 20th Ward. veteran Alderman Cliff Kelly has been indicted in the federal Operation Incubator probe of City Hall corruption, and it does not seem that he has yet achieved the majority. He needs to be reelected, but he is still doing very well there. 42% for him, the others showing up far less. In the 25th Ward, aldermanic primary, 67% of the tally. Juan Solis out in front. He is, of course, the incumbent. We do not yet see a majority that he needs for election.
And the other ward races we're following for you tonight, 27th Ward, aldermanic primary, Wallace Davis, the incumbent, who was also indicted in the federal probe of alleged corruption at City Hall. Now, with 70% of the precincts reporting there, he has 33% of the vote, compared to Shanitha Butler with 13%, Cindy Sanders, 12%. Don't know, that could be a runoff in store in that particular primary. In the 31st Ward, aldermanic primary, Miguel Santiago, the incumbent there, with just over a third of the precincts reporting, has 39% of the vote. His two challengers, Colazzo and Figueroa, have 11% and 18. Oh, sorry, the figures went by too fast, but that could have been a runoff in that particular ward as well. Joel, we'll go to the 42nd Ward right now before we start talking again. With 80% of the precincts reporting there, Burton Gutierrez, 47%. Remember, folks, he still needs 50% plus 1 to be declared the winner. He is leading, however, over Republican candidate Nice Barnes. In the 45th Ward, with 88% of the precincts reported there, Gerald McLaughlin, the incumbent, has 38% of the vote, compared to Patrick LeVar, who is leading now with 54%. Rick?
And it looks like a majority there, and we may have a new alderman in the 45th Ward. Your thoughts, sir?
There's also going to be a new alderman, I think, in the 12th Ward, where the son of former Congressman John Ferry is pulling a surprise. My thoughts are that these aldermanic races are running somewhat as expected, particularly for those tied to Operation Incubator. We thought that many of those people would have trouble. They appear to be having trouble. We thought Nateris might have trouble for casting the controversial vote. He is having trouble. What we didn't think was that Santiago or Solis would end up in runoffs, which of course could inure to the benefit of Mayor Washington, since each of them were opponents of his in the city council.
It is yet early, but I'm getting the impression that we may see more runoffs than we had expected, and that this whole tangle of city council alignment may take us until April the 7th to figure out who's going to be doing what for whom.
And we didn't show them on our screen, but there are going to be several other runoffs along the lakefront.
We also noticed that Washington did not endorse any of the candidates that are mentioned, indicted, whatever, with the Operation Incubator probe. Do you think this may have had something to do with how the voters...
Well, he certainly didn't want to indict them, given the blotch on their record. I'm not sure, though, if what you're suggesting is that an endorsement by him would have saved them, would have necessarily been the case.
Thank you, Joel.
Okay, Joel. Well, there is more election night coverage yet to come. We'll rejoin regular programming at the point at which we interrupted. You can look for us to return with further election results in a few minutes. Thanks for joining us.
No matter how normal you pretend life is, if you live with someone who has an alcohol problem, you know you live a nightmare. A never-ending series of crises, destroying your life and tearing your family apart. If someone you love is in trouble with alcohol or drugs, don't wait for things to get better. They won't. Call Care Unit now. Nobody cares the way we do.
You're about to discover one reason no other